the more capacity you have, the more energy you have, in your matter, in your structure, it's like you can feel these women, they like emanate themselves more. They emanate themselves more. This like embodiment. Even though I was so burnt out, like I am such a seeker, like it's just, like I said, it's like what I was born with to like figure out the human body. And so I think sometimes people are like, oh, when I'm burnt out, there's like, no, I'm not looking for like, I'm just trying to get by. And I'm like, I was just trying to get by, but I was also like, I got it. How do I not understand what's happening with me? Minerals and the mineral matrix, you said they are stardust. When we say like we are made of stardust, minerals is what we're talking about.
Remembering what it is to be human upon the earth. Do you remember when that used to be this podcast's tagline? I still kind of think of it as one of the guiding principles, but I kind of stopped saying it at some point as I was trying to figure out what direction I'm going in with the podcast as I moved more towards women's metabolic health. And inevitably, that meant less room for herbalism, earth connection, ancestor connection, but those are all still such big and deep and important parts of my life and still really inform where I'm coming from with all these conversations. And I do plan to have more explicit conversations about them in the future. But this conversation with Clara Belize Wisner really brought me back into that space because we are in these animal bodies. We are of the earth, we are of our ancestors, and we are of the cosmos. Everything, every molecule in our bodies comes from the earth, which was fed by our ancestors' bodies as they died, decayed, went back into their elemental forms. And all of these elements came from exploding supernova. And that matters when it comes to healing. That matters when it comes to understanding how energy runs through the body, how energy runs the body, and how we can get ourselves back to a place where our bodies remember where they come from and what they are made of in the healing journey that so many of us are on. So Clara is a nutritionist, a mother, a mineral balancing practitioner. Sound familiar? Many of my guests have had these credentials recently or something similar because, as I say to Clara in the interview, when I find these women online, like the women I resonate most with, it's like, oh, of course. They have this similar framework and background because they understand that we are elemental beings and that the energy that runs through us is what's going to make us healthy, happy, thriving, and allow us to heal when that's what we need. So I think of this, that famous Hemingway phrase, suddenly or gradually and then suddenly. So energy loss happens a lot for us who have been through severe burnout. Energy loss happens gradually and then suddenly. It's like a lifetime of small things add up. And then usually there is like a sudden precipitating experience, a big thing that just pushes you over the edge. In the energy book from the 80s, which I've talked about before, and I will link it in the show notes, Clara and I also talk about it more in the Patreon bonus for this episode. In that booklet, which is a real interesting look at like the early days of mineral balancing and HTMA work, they ask the question, was there a time in your life after which you were never the same? And for a lot of us, that question really hits, right? It does for me. And for Clara, the push off the cliff was having 2 babies 13 months apart. We talk about that. And we talk about how we crashed, the lifetime of choices that led to our crashes. And then, the big thing that pushed us into severe burnout and how we've healed and recovered because we've both come a really long way from where we were. And we think that our story can help other women and other people who are in the same place that we were in. I love like the 3 pillars that Clara gives that helped her because they're absolutely the same 3 that helped me and continue to every day. And all 3 of them are just like reminding our bodies that we come from the earth and we come from the cosmos. In the Patreon bonus over at patreon.com/medicine stories, We talk about how healing in adulthood, specifically, changing your metabolic state and remineralizing and all the things I always talk about, can cast childhood illness in a new light. We tell our stories with this and can connect us to who we were then in a manner commonly referred to as retracing. I'm not convinced in the sort of like really simplified concept of retracing, which is that as you heal and get better, you like experience your health symptoms from the past in reverse chronological order, and they come up and get expressed and then healed. I haven't experienced that, and I haven't talked to anyone who's experienced it that simply, that exact reverse chronological order. But what I do think is true is that the process of healing can bring previous experiences to the surface. And we can also experience like the same trigger or stressor from the past now in a more healed and well state and have a totally new response to it than we did then. So Clara and I just share our stories about this, our childhood illnesses, and then also adult stressors that have come up that we now orient to totally differently than we used to when we were in a really different metabolic state, when we were just experiencing the world in a very different way. Oh yeah, and in the outro, at the end of the episode here, we get into talking about binging and sugar cravings and the idea that, you just have to like willpower your way through those, when actually most of the time they are actually just the inevitable result of undernourishing. So we talk about that in the episode, and then in the outro, I talk a little bit more about that concept and share a podcast episode that I recently listened to that I thought had a lot of really, really good things to say about that, and about food noise, which you hear people talk about so much now with GLP-1s. Food noise, lowering the food noise. If you're experiencing that food noise, it's probably because you're actually undernourished and you need to eat more or get more micronutrients in. So listen to the outro for that. And thank you so much for those of you who are supporting the podcast on Patreon. It is life-giving to this podcast. It is the lifeblood of this podcast. It is a wonderful community to be a part of. I'm just so grateful for the extremely intelligent, thoughtful, kind women there and the comments they leave and the things they share on these bonus conversations that I work hard to make meaningful and helpful for the audience who resonates with the Medicine Stories podcast. So thank you so much for joining me there. And let's dive into this conversation now with Clara. Clara, hi, welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Me too. As I was telling you beforehand, I don't have an agenda for this conversation. Like I often want to talk about something specific. I don't have notes, which actually feels really good because I'm not going to be checking my document on my screen every now and then to make sure I cover everything. I've just been tuning into you and your work for long enough and always planned to have you on. So I'm glad we're finally doing it, that I think our conversation will just proceed as needed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a longtime listener and, user of Mythic Medicine. And I'm just like so excited and could not be more honored to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I love that you use our medicines too.
Mm-hmm. All the time.
I do use them with your daughters.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of have a background in Ayurveda actually as well. And so they talk a lot about oil is love. And I love that phrase. And when I first became a mother, it just felt so right to just slather those babies up in all the oil. And that's, I think I had yours even then, because almost 6.
Yeah, that's a wonderful phrase. It is kind of like you just feel nurtured and cared for and like mothered when you're oiled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell me more about your background and what you do now and how you came to be doing what you do now.
Yeah. Well, I feel like, you tell this story in a lot of different ways, but I've always been really obsessed and interested in the human body, and also weirdly kind of directed towards like natural options. Like, you know, I had family members growing up that struggled with a lot of like mental health issues. And even when I was, you know, like 10, I was like, wow, like I was like kind of anti pharmaceuticals, and no one was like putting that on me. It was just this weird impulse that I had. And I'm not against pharmaceuticals for mental health if that's what you need, but it was just an interesting experience where I just felt so strongly that that was a bad choice. I was like, there's so many other things you could do. I know there's other things you could do. And so, yeah, I was like obsessed with the body and the way to use like natural medicines or natural, like also just like, how does the body work? Like this food that we're eating, we're putting in our bodies, like, how does that work? So I think from a very, very young age, like I've had this like desire to know, desire to understand the human body. And that kind of morphed in my teenage years into like an obsession with purity and thinness and aesthetics. And so I, you know, around 13 started like over exercising, starting to diet, starting to restrict my food. And for me, that also coincided with a lot of like substance abuse and just overall, you know, not treating myself well, but still kind of like obsessed with this idea of like, how does my body work and how can I control it? How can I control it? And I just continued on like that until, you know, through college, through all high school, through college. And I actually have a degree in resource conservation. So it's Earth Day today, which is awesome. And I'm actually just feeling like I'm circling back to some of, you know, anyway, I won't go off on that tangent, but it's like this connection between our health and the Earth's health. And it all makes sense in hindsight, you know? And so I graduated from college and I went into the Peace Corps, and I was not like mentally stable at all, or well. And I had been, you know, abusing alcohol, drugs, not eating, just basically just trying not to eat as much as possible, and over exercising. And then I go into this situation that's very like, it was a lot for someone who's like 21 to just fly across the world and live in an African village, without running water, without electricity, without anyone close to me that spoke English. And so I really like struggled mentally, and also started to use, you know, substances even more when I could. It was kind of this weird, like I would be in the village and I would be like pretty sober, but then I would like sometimes anyway, be like secretive and like bring stuff in and then be like kind of on benders by myself. And it was dark times. But at the same time, I was reading all of these, I was doing a lot of yoga, and I was reading all of these like autobiography of a yogi and like all these spiritual books, and like really seeking. And I would just meditate in my hut, like staring at candles for like hours. And I had this like it felt like it was like God speaking to me. And it said, you have to learn to take care of yourself or else you're going to die. Basically, there was this real strong moment, dark night of the soul, of like, you keep going down this road, it's going to be ugly. And so, you know, from that moment, I kind of had this like opening, because the idea of taking care of yourself just didn't make any sense to me at all. Like, I was like, what does that even mean? You know, like I'd never oriented to my body or myself as something to take care of. It was always something to control. And yeah, so long, I mean, that was many, many years. Probably 3 years after that, I ended up riding my bike past the Nutrition Therapy Institute in Denver. and just going in and being like, maybe they can teach me how to take care of myself. In that time, I had, gotten into yoga, done a lot of hot yoga, been like vegan, vegetarian, was like better, but not really, like I was trying. But I went into the NTI, the Nutrition Therapy Institute, and got a pamphlet and then signed up and thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this for myself. I just need to learn. There's no answers. And this was like this would have been 2012-ish. So it was before like the big kind of internet boom of, I don't know, nutrition programs and things like that. So there wasn't, there was podcasts. I listened to a lot of podcasts. But yeah, there wasn't like the ubiquitous amount of information as there is now. I feel like that's important. So I started going to the school, and then within the first year, I just was like, wow, I could really do this with people. And I was feeling so much better. It was the first time that I actually ate enough, I think, was like after going to school and learning about actual biochemistry and being like, oh, like I need to eat meat, for example. And I specialized. The school, you did like 1 year general, and then you did 1 year of like specialization. And I specialized in women's health and hormones. And I was just like, oh, I have, I kind of got off birth control. I like started eating meat, started drinking raw milk. Very definitely heavily influenced by like Weston A. Price and paleo times. But I was actually eating a lot of food, even if I was still controlling it. And so my whole personality changed. Like I just really felt so different, felt so much more happy and like stable. And in that time I got married. And yeah, so I just worked with people like a regular nutritionist with an office, and women came to see me, and I worked with them and did a lot of fertility stuff, a lot of gut health, a lot of the things that they would go to, the doctor, and the doctor would say, you're fine. And they'd be like, I'm not fine, or like, I don't feel fine. And they would come, like I would get those people. And then I just kept seeing these patterns of like, it's not just the supplements. It's not just the food. Like these women are doing the things, and they're still neurotic, or they're still like, they can't, there's something missing. Like I was just so clear that like, I got kind of bored. I was like, this is not that helpful, and I'm kind of bored of saying the same thing. So I was doing my own like therapy and personal development work. And so then I got a certification in what's called Voice Dialogue, which is like a Jungian modality, where it's kind of like internal family systems, where you give voice to different parts of yourselves. And that really helped me with my own relationship with food and body. And so I started doing that. And so then I was really working with like emotional eating and disordered eating. And that's when I kind of went online. And then I became a mother, and that just, again, kind of just plunged me into these depths of realizing that even though I had been doing things so much more, I had been eating enough, I'd been eating better, I had been doing all of this like personal development work, I was still controlling, I was still like very, I still wasn't like fully taking care of myself, to bring it back to that. And then I had another baby. So I had 2 babies within 13 months. And after my second was born, I had a huge health crash about 6 months after. And I didn't sleep. I gained a bunch of weight. I just couldn't do life the way that I was doing it. It was just a true breaking point. And so that's really that's where I found mineral nutritional balancing. And that's, like when the iteration of my work now is from like this deep, like thinking I was doing all the things right. And then just being like so deeply, broken by that experience. And then kind of just slowly coming back from that.
I'm going to ask you the question that has been like on my mind for the last few days, weeks, months, but like really nonstop the last few days. Okay. So you're talking about control and self-care, and I'm curious, like how, sorry, my mind is fractaling into so many different places right now. Okay, so you probably know my story. My listeners probably do too. Like 25 years of, I guess control is a word for it. It was restricting, really, and but it felt like self-care also, like
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily using that phrase at that time because that wasn't such a phrase as it is now, but I was doing it because I thought I was taking the best care of my health that was possible. And the sources that were coming into me were like, be vegan, you have to be vegan. And like, my whole story is vegan, vegetarian, different times of my life, first pregnancy and postpartum period were vegan. And then had sort of a period of like just normal, whatever eating, I don't know. And then keto, fasting, all this kind of stuff. Had my huge health crash at 42. I guess that was 6 or 7 years after, it was like 6 years after my youngest was born. But so now I'm at this interesting place where also had like a pretty large, very quick weight gain that went hand in hand with energy crash. Truly not having enough energy to meet the demands of my life. It's if you haven't felt that feeling, you don't even know. You don't even know. It's so different than just like being tired at the end of a day. And so but I refuse to live the rest of my life in that state. I have like enough wherewithal and enough self-love and like still some cognitive capacity to be like, I'm getting myself out of this place, no matter how long it takes. And so here I am 3 years later, better in a lot of ways, but it's taken a degree of discipline and control to get here, right?
Yeah.
Like I track my food. And sometimes I'm just like, should I just give all this up and just like go on feel? And like, would that be my redemption arc? Is like, once I stopped even caring, I got better.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't think that is true for me. I think that maybe if I had never been a person who was trying to optimize my health, which got me to the point of ruining my health, then maybe I could be living like that, the not controlling, not tracking, not analyzing, But because I got myself in this hole, I really think that the only way out for me is to manage it until I'm at a place where I can kind of let all that tracking and analyzing go. Where are you with all that?
Oh, I can see all the fractals and all the like threads. But it's such a good question. And it's also exactly a question that I'm asking myself, because I also am tracking my food all the time, and have been for, it's probably been like a year and a half, maybe closer to 2. I don't know. And it's, I just kind of, it was even like last week, I was like, I feel great. Like I actually I could obsess about little things, and my weight is still a thing that is wild, that I weigh what I weigh. Like when I know the number on the scale, like I still am a little bit like, what? Like how? Like,
who is this person? This is
like, it never was on my radar that I would ever, weigh that much. So that's triggering. Like that's a whole experience in itself to like just be with the number on the scale. But other than that, like for me, I feel like my energy feels great. Like I sleep really well. I feel like, my libido has come back more recently. I feel like, I'm warm, like my temperatures are good. My cycle is still like a little like, again, optimizing, it's pretty good. Like, it's fine. But there's like, my ovulation is a little late. Like, I could, there's like little things I could totally obsess about. But overall, like, I feel good. And I have been in this inquiry of like, when do we just like, it's like when you look back to your teenage self that was so obsessed with being, at least for me, like was so obsessed with controlling food and controlling like, and how I looked and thought I looked so terrible. And then you look back at yourself, you're like, you were so beautiful and perfect. And like, what the fuck, And I'm like, when do I get to just be me? Like, when do I just get to enjoy this body? Because on one level, I believe that I will feel better in like, I'm 38, I'll be 38 like next week. So, into my 40s, I'm really hoping that that's like a beautiful blossoming time for me. A lot of my 30s have felt very burnt out. So yeah, I'm like, when do I get to just like be in my body and be like, I'm good, And I feel like I'm at a place where I'm about ready to do that. Like, because I've been thinking that I'm going to do more fat loss phases because of this number on the scale and the way that I look sometimes when I see a picture of myself and I'm like, what? But then I'm like, but from the inside, like right now, before like 4 years ago when I had that health crash, I felt I was in so much pain. I was that tired that you're talking about. That's like, I'm like, I love feeling tired now because it's like this, like I could just fall asleep. Like and that other tired is like, I want to die tired. Like, it's like dying is the only option, like to be very like kind of sensationalist, but that's where your mind is because your energy is so low that it's just like, you can't rest. You can't even really rest. So yeah, like, I'm like, I feel great. Like, and also I've really been sitting with like appreciating the fruits of our labor is what I've been calling it. Like, can I enjoy the fruits of my labor? Like, I have been laboring, like you said, I have been using some management and some control, if you will, but it's been coming from this place of love. It's been coming from this place of like rooted knowing that like, this is what I need right now. Just like a mother knows when her kid needs to go to bed. And it's like, sorry, I know you don't want to go to bed, but you got to go to bed because that's what's best for you. That's how the tracking and like the quote unquote control has felt the last 4 years, has been more of that, more like mothering. Like, I know it'd be so much easier if you could just eat whatever you wanted, but this is good for you. This is going to be really good for you. And before it was just, you piece of shit, stop eating, or what, the voice was so mean. So this voice has been, for the most part, loving. And there are points on my journey where I have felt the return of that voice, like that mean voice. And that's another question probably, but like most of the time, the majority of the time, the tracking and the management of my food and like kind of, yeah, all of this stuff has felt very much like a mother mothering her child. And now maybe it is time for me to just be like, I'm good, and really integrate what I've learned, because I've changed my diet significantly and it feels good. I don't want to go back to eating, 150 grams of fat a day. If we're going to be specific about that. I feel the difference of like the carbs, eating enough carbs, eating more carbs, using carbs for energy. I think that's part of why my energy is so much better.
Yeah, it sounds like we're in a really similar place too. Like I was going to do a fat loss phase this spring. And then as the time came, I was like, I don't think my body can handle it. Actually, I don't think it's the best idea. I think I stay, in a good to high calorie place, basically 2,200, 2,300 calories a day is about what I do right now, and keep strength training and eating more fiber has been incredible. And yeah, and sleep. I feel like sleep is like the metric, once sleep slowly starts to improve, you're like, okay, I am doing better. And yeah, I mean, the tracking for me too has been like to make sure I eat enough, which is self-mothering for sure. Yeah, thank you. We're just living in convoluted times, and we have convoluted minds from our convoluted social media landscape, and we have to do what we think best for ourselves. And yeah, for me, the management for the time being is part of that, and I look forward to getting to the place where I feel like I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah, I think there's something so important about this, like knowing what's best for us, like outside of, there's so many voices, there's so many talking heads, there's so much information out there. And this is what I'm talking about all the time with my clients and my groups. It's just like you are the authority on your body. So in my example, my weight is much higher than, most people would consider healthy, whatever that means. I'm also really strong. I do have a lot of muscle. I've been lifting weights for like my whole, since high school, pretty consistently. And so anyway, I'm strong and my body's a little bit bigger. And I just know that I'm good. I'm healthy. I know that actually. And yeah, but I'm still I get pulled from my center, but that's the work, is coming back to what do you know you need? What is your body? I don't even want to say what is your body telling you, because it's not that simple, but it's more of a sense of being in your center. And I find again and again when I bring women, and you don't need me to do it, but I'll do practices where I bring women into their bodies and into their center, and then we ask questions, and they always know. They always know what they need. And some people might need tracking, like you and I, and other people might not. And that's also something that gets lost in the health space, is just this idea that everyone needs the same thing. It's they don't. We're on different journeys, coming from different places.
I want to go back to the sleep thing you said real quick too, because I was just saying that to my daughter last night. It was we were in bed, it was almost bedtime, and I was just kind of stretching and yawning, and I was like, God, I love this feeling of tiredness, because I didn't used to feel it. Like a drowsy tired.
Yes.
That's a great feeling. And when I feel it before bedtime, I'm like, I'm going to sleep tonight.
Yes.
And for so many years, when I was in my deepest fatigue, I never felt that feeling, because it was the constant tired and wired.
Yeah, that was my main, other than the weight gain, my main symptom was insomnia. And I had 2 babies in diapers. And I had this and then when they were sleeping, I couldn't sleep. And it was just and then I would wake up and it was the day just drags on, because you just, you try to nap. But there was a point, probably a year, where I made myself lay down in my bed in the dark room, with one of them or both of the girls, just to try, it was just, yeah, so overstimulating. And it was it's hell to lay there, and also hell to be awake. The worst. The worst.
Yeah. I used to look at my cats sleeping throughout the day and feel a visceral jealousy.
Totally. That lazy cat tired.
Yes.
That's the drowsy tired that feels so good. And we're oh, I want that. I love that.
Yes. It hurt that I couldn't find what they found 18 hours of every day.
Yeah.
So I find myself the people whose work I really resonate with online, then I find out they read HTMA and know about minerals and mineral balancing. I'm like, okay, what is this? And it's because that framework, repeat, quote, pro-metabolic, understands the energy system of the human body. which is so basic, high school biology, but really easily overlooked in a lot of health spaces and in mainstream medicine and alternative health spaces. I think that's why it works so well for so many of us, especially women, it seems to me, or maybe it's especially women who, seek it out and need it. So I'm curious, how you found out about that when you were already practicing as a nutritionist and how you feel that sort of came in and changed the game for you.
Yeah, that would be so interesting to actually go back. Like those 4 years are blurry as why we're talking. But I mean, I was searching for anything, right? Like even though I was so burnt out, like I am such a seeker, like it's just, like I said, it's like what I was born with to like figure out the human body. And so I think sometimes people are like, oh, when I'm burnt out, there's like, no, I'm not looking for like, I'm just trying to get by. And I'm like, I was just trying to get by, but I was also like, I got it. How do I not understand what's happening with me? Like that was like, it was just, I couldn't believe it. So I was just searching and searching. And the first course I took, well, I got an HTMA. You just do all the tests, right? Like I'm doing all the tests on myself, trying to figure out what's going on. Nothing's coming back with any problems for the most part. And then I got an HTMA from this woman, Rebecca Yelchek. She worked for Even Better Now, which is just like a lab. And so she was doing TEI labs, so the more like Dr. Watson approach. And I got my test back and she just told me how I felt. Like I was like, you're the first person, or, this is the first test that is showing anything wrong with me. So it just felt so hopeful in that initial time. So I started doing what she recommended, which wouldn't have been, it wasn't like the Dr. Eck approach.
So these are two different kind of branches of hair tissue mineral analysis, mineral balancing approaches, just for anyone who's completely new to this.
Yeah, like there's a mineral balancing umbrella, and then there's like different lineages. Exactly. So what I practice now is mostly mineral nutritional balancing, but I honestly, I studied the RCP.
Which is the Dr. Eck. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So I studied all three approach it, like the RCP, root cause protocol, Dr. Eck's work through Susan Cachet, and then Dr. Watson through Kendra Perry and other people. So yeah, so I started doing that and it did help. And it did I felt better pretty quickly. Wasn't like 100%, but I was starting to sleep like, 3-hour chunks instead of like 1 hour or, less. Yeah. So that's where it came from. And then of course, being a practitioner, I was like, I gotta learn about this. So I immediately signed up for Kendra Perry's course, which is the Dr. Watson lineage, and then started, doing my own tests and offering it to my family and just like learning through doing, and then kind of finding these different approaches as well. But I found the most benefit from the Dr. Eck approach. And so that's largely what I use. But, there's pros and cons with all of them. So that's how I found mineral nutritional balancing, was just literally from my own desperation.
Take your herbal body oils into the shower with you in the morning. This is my number one tip for people wanting to incorporate herbal body oiling into their daily life and don't have the time to set aside sacred space and do this whole oiling routine. It's lovely when you have that time, but most days, especially for mothers, we do not. So in the morning, when you get in the shower, bring your bottle of herbal oil with you. And what I do is let the warm water and the steam soften my skin, open my pores, and then put my hair up. And of course I do that before I get in the shower, and oil from, neck up into the ear area, all the way down to my feet. And you can do this when your body is wet. It does not have to be dry to oil. It'll just be slipperier. and then go about your shower routine. And it's okay that the water is going to be taking some of the oil off of you. It's not going to take that much off of you. You're not going to like notice it on the floor of your shower unless you oil the soles of your feet. But bonus, it is going to take enough off that top layer that when you step out and get dressed, your clothes are not going to get oily, which is always a concern people have. So, as soon as it touches your skin, it absorbs quite quickly. You are going to notice the difference when you get out of the shower, even if some of it came off from the water hitting you. It's like the perfect thing to do, really, because you get the benefits of the herbal body oiling without being oily afterwards. And you can do it quite quickly because you're already naked and you're already like in your flow and routine of like doing something and getting somewhere, right? Trying to get out the door. So this is great for like any day, but especially the full body oil on days that you have something stressful coming up, like travel, getting on an airplane. God forbid you're giving like a speech or a presentation in front of a bunch of people, even just a stressful phone call, or you're going to be at your computer all day. Like, just see how different it feels when you do a full body oil in the morning. It's like being wrapped in an envelope of warmth, and everything that comes to you, all the sensory stimulation and stress gets filtered and like mitigated, downgraded through this layer of oil that is protecting and nourishing your nervous system. Give it a try. And of course, you can always do it in the bath too, like when you do have time to carve out sacred space. That is absolutely lovely. Combination of hot water and herbal body oils is amazing. You can check out our line of whole plant herb infused body oils at mythicmedicine.shop. The reason it works so well, again, is that it understands how energy works in the human body and understands that minerals are one of the foundational pieces of that. Because, of course, they're entirely what every cell in our body are made up of. Like the building blocks of the entire universe are these minerals. And so I love hearing you say that when you were deep in burnout, you wanted to understand it, because I am the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've certainly had people be like, why are you like that? You're burning yourself out more, like chasing the understanding and the information. I'm like, well, if that's true, like I can't help it. I can't make myself not curious about this. And when I have like the curiosity itch, I have to scratch it. So there's no way I'm not looking into this. And the same thing, just really interested in the human body from a really young age, and like, but how does this all work? I just find it fascinating, and it feeds me to learn more about it and look into it. But my really analytical mind really wants to understand every single piece of the entire framework. Like, well, okay, how does calcium and potassium tell us anything about the thyroid? And while I have not found like hard and fast evidence proving that it does, what I know is that overall, this framework works. And that like everyone in the way, and I felt the same way too, is when the first time you have like an HTMA interpreted for you, you're like, yeah, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Thank you. No one gets it.
Especially if nothing else has come back with any problems. You're just like,
yeah. So it's getting
crazy?
to like the most basic level of energy production in your body. And especially looking at thyroid and adrenals. And it's just been really helpful. And I guess I'm just saying that I'm always going to like tune into people who are really well-versed in that framework.
Yeah. I mean, they're the spark plugs to life. That's like a Dr. Eck quote. They're, minerals and the mineral matrix. You said they are stardust. When we say like we are made of stardust, that minerals is what we're talking about. And like I've been thinking a lot about like capacity lately and what we have capacity for. And I love like Chinese medicine. And like I said, I trained in Ayurveda as well, and in like India and in an Ayurvedic hospital. And there's some overlap there, but this idea of like what capacity does our body have? What potential? Well, I should say our cells have endless kind of like potential, energetic potential. So why, that was like a big thing in my burnout that I was just like ruminating on, is like this, I know this potential is here. Like what, like where is all the energy going? Was like one of my big questions, And then there's like the kind of quantum, like circadian health stuff, which was another big piece of my recovery, I would say. But yeah, like that light and like, the earth can kind of offer us energy, and that weight gain is a discharge of energy. That was huge for me in understanding my own weight gain and then how I felt, because it's this question of like, if I'm burnt out and I have zero energy, why is my body storing energy? Like let's use that energy because I feel terrible.
Wait, so what is the answer to that?
The answer to like, why is my body storing energy
when you need the energy?
Well, on a high level overview, I think it's that, because of minerals. Because the basic minerals that are required for those enzymatic reactions and energy producing reactions to happen aren't there, or they're not available, or the receptor sites aren't open. It was another way to say that. So there's, this combination of mineral balancing and replenishing your body's mineral matrix and like deep capacity to utilize that energetic potential in your body. And then also combined with the quantum stuff, which is basically just light hygiene and just like spending more time outside. Like, I don't know why people make it so complicated. I guess we can get super nerdy about it and that's fun, but like, I don't know. It's just like, watch the sunrise when you can, go outside as much as you can, get your bare feet on the earth, be in nature. These are like really basic things that can do incredible things for people's energy levels. So yeah, those two things combined, not only did they really help me, but they also, I think that's like so much of the key for so much women experiencing burnout. And that's not even getting into the eating enough thing, which I know you've talked a lot about lately. So, but yeah, I think those three things, like mineral balancing, the quantum stuff, and then eating and making sure that you're eating enough is like, you're going to do a lot better.
Yeah. And all of those things are just like reminding your body that you are of the earth and of the cosmos.
Yeah, totally.
They're just being in relationship with the world that we live in.
Yeah, I'll just say one more thing. Like one more thing I see with like women who are replenishing. I have a 2-year program. And so I see people kind of long-term doing mineral balancing. And it's like Ray Peat said, energy begets structure. And so again, the more capacity you have, the more energy you have, in your matter, in your structure, it's like you can feel these women, they like emanate themselves more. They emanate themselves more, this like embodiment. So there's something about bringing that energy into matter and fortifying that matter. And then it's like we become more ourselves. Like not having enough energy is like you dim. It's like the light that is you dims. That's what we felt, you and I, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. This is reminding me of when I was 16, I unexpectedly had a huge psilocybin experience.
Oh, unexpectedly.
Unexpected. I just didn't realize it was going to be like that, because we had some during the day. It was my first time ever. And it was like cool. It was like kind of fun. And then as the evening fell, we were like, let's get some more.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
So it was the double shot. And then my mind blew open, it was incredible. It was such a gift of an experience. But the main things I wasn't like hallucinating seeing them, but just like the space my mind was occupying was like I was shrunk down inside my body, but I was also out in the universe, in the cosmos, and they were the same thing. And just hearing you talk just now, here we are.
Yeah,
it's true. So, okay, we had connected on Instagram about a post that really caught your attention on Substack, and I really wanted to talk about this
Oh,
with you and
yes.
how
Yes.
it ties into all of this. Because
Yeah.
the three pillars you're talking about, basically sunlight and like grounding on the earth, minerals, and then eating enough food, including carbohydrates, life changing for both you and I. It really comes into play in this post. So why don't you just kind of like set us up?
Yeah. So this post was by a spiritual teacher, kind of like business teacher. And I just recently started following her, and she's kind of like unhinged and just like says crazy things. And I was like, that's fun. And then she wrote this post about emotional eating and how she had figured out how to stop her emotional eating. And basically what she was saying is that she's like asking her body if she's really hungry. And also that it started when she got sick and didn't eat for a couple days. I think that's actually kind of key to like the whole energy of it. So, yeah, is that?
Yeah, and she has young children.
Yep. Yeah, she has young children.
And so what was she trying to share? What wisdom had she gleaned from that experience that she wanted?
I mean, she was basically saying that like we don't need as much food as we think we do. That we use food as a emotional numbing tool, and there's also this piece about that she was saying that like fasting is like spiritual, and that all spiritual practices have fasted, and that it's kind of, this purity idea, right? It's like fasting makes us more pure, and controlling our lowly bodily needs is like and she was being also quite honest that like she's like I like how I look now too.
Yeah, the beginning of the post was like a mirror selfie.
Yep.
A scantily clad mirror selfie being like, look how good I look now. It's because 2 weeks ago I realized that I need to eat less.
Yes. Yeah. Or that I could, or like that I could control it.
Yeah, I have been eating less for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, tell us what the problem that you have with this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so when I was talking about my background, I did work a lot with emotional eating. It was kind of like I would work with people who maybe had like a full-blown eating disorder and had kind of healed from it, but they still had a lot of stuff, around food. So they weren't at risk of dying or something extreme, but they still had a lot of, stuff around food. And again and again, it was like, well, are you eating regularly? Are you eating breakfast in the morning? Are you, do you eat? It wasn't, at the time, I wasn't exactly as focused on like, are you eating enough? But I was just like, are you eating breakfast? Are you eating 3 meals a day? Are you getting your micronutrients? And I would just see again and again, these women with a little bit of, I would hold space for them. We would talk about their experiences and their feelings towards their body. Like there was like, an element of holding space and letting them talk and express themselves. And then it was like, okay, well, let's just like start with you eating breakfast every day. And it was like, it would just stop. Like then it was like all this binging would just like go away. And they thought that it was like, oh, I need more willpower, or like I'm really, really sick, or, I'm just so obsessed with food. I'm a sugar addict. Right. And so even back then that was in like 2014 or 2015, maybe, that I was doing that. So yeah, there's this idea, like, and I hear it from people a lot, women especially, like, well, I'm such an emotional eater, or like, I can't have cookies in the house. I was just talking to someone yesterday, and she was like, I like had this whole conversation with myself in the store about the cookies, and then I get them in my house, and I spend like, I have 40 different conversations about these cookies in my head, if I just have cookies at my house. And I'm just like, what? Like, it doesn't have to be that way, you know? And it's just that people think that, I guess people think that the less they eat, the better, that they should only be eating green juice and salads, and that should be satisfying, and that everyone else is doing that. That's the other belief, right? Like most people can do that just fine, but me, I can't do that. I don't have the willpower. And yeah, and so I just want to say to that there is such a thing as emotional eating. There are, I don't know, you could say like disordered eating disorders that are, you know, binge disorders and things like that. And of course, like food is life. Like food is connected to nourishment overall. So of course, we're going to crave a chocolate chip cookie if we have an emotional association with our grandma's chocolate chip cookies sometimes. Like there's nothing wrong with that. That's true. But what I see is if women are eating enough overall, if they're eating 3 meals at regular times, if they're eating, you know, a good nutrient density, like getting enough micronutrients, that generally they don't have, and especially, you know, a big one I see is that everyone says they really want sugar, and then they're controlling their sugar because they have this whole idea that sugar and carbs are bad for you. And then they have this like uncontrollable sugar urge. And it's like, did you ever think that maybe you needed some carbohydrates and that's why you're having that? So this idea of emotional eating, we need to really rethink it and to and change the whole conversation around what it is and where it's coming from. And I think what a huge piece of it overall is not thinking that you don't have, like, that you need more willpower. Like, that's the thing I just want to say, like, stop thinking that. Whatever you're thinking that you need more willpower for, get more curious. Get more curious, because that's, we all know, like, I get it. I was like, you know, anorexic, and then kind of like would binge and then think it was all like a problem and that it was just me and that I couldn't control myself around food. And I know the cycle. I know the on the wagon, off the wagon really, really well. It was a long time ago, but I still remember it. And so, yeah, that cycle is just such an energy suck. Like, it's just such a place where women just park their energy, so much energy that could be directed towards creation, you know, creating something that you love and that you want. And just instead of like the cycle of beating yourself up. So, yeah.
So in other words, binging and craving sugar are inevitable consequences of under eating calories and carbohydrates.
Yeah. Great summary.
And probably a huge percentage of the women who think they have issues with not being able to control their hunger or sugar cravings are actually just undernourished day to day.
Yeah, I think that's totally true.
I really think it is too. A friend was telling me that her mom was like, I just like go crazy on chocolate every night. And the friend had her mom track her calories during the day, and she was eating about 800 calories a day.
Oh my God.
So it's like, of course you're going crazy on chocolate at night. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And it just makes me so sad. And that's why I talk about it so much on this podcast, the overall cultural messaging that so many of us have gotten over the past decade or so. I mean, longer than that. You know, I remember like the Atkins low carb craze of the 90s, that carbs / sugar, because they're the same thing in the body, are bad. When actually, again, high school biology, the body prefers to run on glucose. Every cell in your body wants to run on glucose. So if you're not getting enough of it, of course, your body is sending out these strong hunger and sugar craving signals.
And if you feel like you're not under eating, like I just had this one experience with this guy who like overate fast food all the time. So his calories were high. But he was basically only eating processed food, like Kentucky Fried Chicken, peanut M&Ms, like, everything was kind of a packaged thing. And he was just like, I'm so hungry all the time. I'm so hungry all the time. I can't not think about food. And I'm like, so it's not necessarily even just the under eating calories. It can be the micronutrient deficiencies as well. So there are people that are kind of maybe overeating calories, potentially, maybe overeating calories some days and way under eating calories other days. That's a big one. But there is something about our cravings and the micronutrients that we need as well. So if you're just deficient in a ton of micronutrients, you're going to crave just food. Your body's like, I don't know, you keep eating all these calories, but there's no folate or vitamin B5 or whatever. And it's like, that can make you feel really confused about your cravings. I think a lot of women have that experience too, where it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm eating enough, but then I just always want a cookie after I'm done eating or something like that. That's more about inconsistency, I think, which is where the tracking and the mothering can really be helpful to know, this is, I still used to have cravings even a few years ago. And I really was like, wow, I really, really don't have any. I have preferences and there's foods I like, but I'm mostly I'm hungry and then I just eat food. And I could eat a lot of different kinds of food and that's it. And I'm not thinking, I'll have some chocolate, I'll have a cookie, I'll have a hot cocoa or something, but it's not I don't need it. It's not this thing that I think about a lot. Have you had that experience too?
Yeah. I don't have any cravings. Maybe once or twice a week, I'll be like, oh, I really want a little square of chocolate.
Yeah.
It's if I'm having a little dip in energy afternoon, feel a little tired, I'm like, oh, just a little bit of chocolate might feel nice, but that's it. And even then, sometimes I'm like, nah, actually, I don't need that. I'm
yeah.
fine.
I'll have these chocolate bars in my fridge now for weeks,
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about the first few years of doing this podcast when my youngest daughter was quite young and I would sneak away to do it, and so I'd feel if I go back to the house, she's going to see me and need me and I'm never going to get back down here to finish this. So I would stay in my little workroom getting as much done as possible. And I don't think I was bringing food with me. So then I'd finally get back up to the house and I would go crazy on tortilla chips.
Yep.
With a protein, with hummus or cheese, or a friend got me into using cottage cheese dip, which is freaking delicious, really.
I've never had that. Probably
you could put a little bit of hot sauce, on each bite too. It's really good. My daughter loves it too. But I'd be like, okay, here's my protein. And then after I stuffed my face with those, I would stuff my face with chocolate as well. And I never do that.
It's the afternoon, right? That 3 to 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you're right. The tracking is what got me out of that. And the tracking is what made me realize I was way overeating fat and way under eating carbs. And then it took me a good year and 3 months of just paying attention to total calories and macros to start paying attention to micros. And so that's just been in the last few months. And I'm like, oh shit, I am never getting enough of this or that micronutrient, and experimenting with bringing foods in that can help me get closer to meeting those goals.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That seems like that's kind of the pattern for tracking. It's just tracking to eat enough. And then you're like, okay, maybe I can track to get some information about my macros. Maybe I can even shift my macros if that feels good, if that feels in service, and then the micronutrients, then getting into the micronutrients. And there's that overall thing on chronometer, overall micronutrient targets, something like that. 80, 80 to 100 is awesome if people are doing that. That's a good, just easy way to see.
Yeah, that is about where I've landed too, because some of them I hit every day, no problem. And then there's some that I'm never at 100%, but I'm like, okay, 79%, I'm going to call that a win.
Probably changes with seasons. That's what I've been thinking about too. I live in Montana how I eat in the winter is a lot different than how I'm going to eat in the spring and the summer. And so there's like different micronutrients that like potassium, for example, or something. I eat a lot more in the summer.
I'm also at a place talking about our curious need to know minds, where I have the serious hormonal chaos of perimenopause as well. I'm 45. And my cycle is quite regular. My ovulation takes longer than it should, but it happens. And I have a hard time when my estrogen is rising. Very hard time. And I do understand many of the mechanisms behind this at this point. You know, I just got a gut microbiome test done that I found out I have very low, very, very low good gut flora, which makes a lot of sense given my history. And liver is working well, which it wasn't a couple years ago. So that's good too. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that
that's good for all the flushes. Maybe we're doing a lot of flushes, and that's good to see that the liver is like, it's cool.
Yeah, I think the flush has helped, and now I think I'm done. But there's just an element of chaos that I see so many perimenopausal women talking about. Like, you don't know how you're going to feel one day to the next. And as I heal, and I notice just like just my orientation to life and how I run energy through my body is shifting. I'm just kind of accepting the mystery of I can understand a lot of these mechanisms and be like, okay, well, it's day 12. So probably this is what's happening, day 12 of my cycle. And then the way that, but also I don't fucking know for sure. And I cannot know for sure. And that's where I'm going to save energy of like spinning out my mind. I want to know exactly why this happened. I don't know. And I can just be okay with, I'm not in perfect health. And most people aren't. And aging is happening to me and to everyone. And I think a lot of us, I think myself, had a very subconscious belief that like almost perfect health was attainable if I did everything right and understood, especially if I understood what was going on and then could adjust my behavior to fix it. And I've really relaxed into, dude, I'm like a human being. I'm an animal in an animal body on the earth. Every single human and animal who has ever lived has decayed and died. And that is part of the process. And
deep breath. Yeah. I'm just thinking when you're talking about the synthetic dominance pattern on the HTMA, the pusher pattern. And do you have that? You have that.
I did.
You did have that. So that, what you were saying initially, like when you're like, I'll do the thing, like just I need to understand it, and then I'll do it, and then I'll fix it. That's such a trademark of the synthetic dominance pattern. I see. It's like those women are so, and I was in that too. I'm not in it anymore, but they're so like, they come at, it's sympathetic dominance. So it's fight, right? So it's like, I'm going to fight the problem. I'm going to come at the problem. I'm going to fight it. And then I'm going to kill it. And it's like, you can't come out of the sympathetic dominance pattern unless you change that. That's how it feels to me. It's like, you have to have like a new relationship to your quote unquote problems and, symptoms. If like this symptom is affecting your daily life, for months, maybe a month, like, yeah, of course, like look into it, like see what's going on. But yeah, there's like this hypervigilance that so many women have about their symptoms, and it's all understandable. But I think when we kind of step back and we look at like this, I call it like the long game of health. And we're just like, I'm going to eat consistently. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to, maybe do mineral nutritional balancing, maybe not, maybe just eat enough and focus on my micronutrients. and things are going to happen, and I'm just going to be consistent. I'm going to move my body, and I know that I'm doing what I need to do. Like, again, it's like that. I know that this is actually enough. And over time, like, that's one of the curses of like the wellness industry and Instagram is like, there's always something new to try, there's always something. And the sympathetic dominance, the hypervigilance, like, loves that. It's like, let's try this supplement. Let's try that. Like, I got to fight this problem. And it's like, what if we just kind of like said, there will be problems, there will be symptoms. It's part of living in a body. It's part of getting older. We don't want to be like, apathetic to our health, but it is a fine line of like apathy and sympathetic dominance. And it's just like, what is the middle way? What is the way of like, I know I am being super consistent with the basics, and that builds a baseline of capacity, a baseline of fortitude that serves me and continues to kind of hopefully raise my baseline.
Yeah. Thank you, Clara. I just feel so important to me to continue to carve out a space for these conversations in light of that crazy Instagram energy and how unwell so many people are, especially women, mothers, and middle-aged women right now who are in the midst of just like so many forces coming at us and trying to keep our sanity and our health and our well-being intact. So thank you. Please tell us you have numerous offerings.
Yeah. Well, right now I'm doing this course called Deep Nourishment that is, like a course, kind of like a deep self-paced thing. I'm live creating it, but then it's totally something you could come into anytime and watch the recordings and kind of join the community. So I'm really excited about that right now. So that's what I kind of want to highlight. I do one-on-one work, but Deep Nourishment is a great place to start and then come into the one-on-one work after that.
Okay. And you have a Substack that's quite good.
Yeah, I have a Substack called ReMothering. I haven't written as much as I would love to, but, always finding balancing time with little kids.
Oh, your output seems impressive to me.
Okay. I feel like I did a lot of output, like, actually, while I was super burnt out, like, it was like my outlet of like, what the fuck is going on with me? And then since I've been feeling better, I've actually been like able to work again. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
And do you do like individual one-off HTMA readings also?
I do one-offs. It's not, it's the mineral nutritional balancing is a long-term process. So if you just get like one test in one session, it's like more informational than, any sort of guarantee of like remineralizing, but I do offer them.
Yeah, I guess I meant like standalone because that's an important part if you are going to do that is to do it consistently for at least a few tests and see how the pattern merges. It's a pattern tracking modality more than anything.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Clara. Let's head over to Patreon to continue talking.
Okay.
Okay. Head over to patreon.com/medicine stories to hear my and Clara's conversation about looking back at our childhood illnesses and seeing how our perception of them and experience of them and other small t traumas from our past have changed as we've healed metabolically.
I just recently had all these two really bad respiratory kind of issue, like things where I was coughing all night, and I was just in the dark coughing and literally felt like I could like reach out and touch myself as a kid in the dark coughing. If trauma's definition is too much too fast, like too much to digest at once, we have to kind of come back and take smaller bites. And I think as our body's capacity increases, we can process more of what happened. It was even like weighing myself for the first time. I gained all this weight and I was burned out. I had 2 babies. Like I was like, I can't even pay attention to this. But when I finally did step on the scale, which I didn't even weigh myself during pregnancies because I would get so triggered by it because of my history. And I just had decided like, I'll never weigh myself for the rest of my life, basically. But I was gaining all this weight. I was like, okay, I have to like face this. That was a retracing moment, right? Because it's like, I can come back to this thing that I used to do from one energy and be like, I don't have to go back and do it from that energy anymore.
And I want to talk a little bit more about what we talked about in this episode with hunger and binging and sugar cravings, because between recording it and recording this now, I listened to a podcast episode that I thought had a really good perspective on it. I mean, it's pretty much echoing what we said here, but it's a larger conversation about it. And this quote I wrote down is, "Hunger is your body's physiological response to a state of energy deprivation." Hunger is your body's physiological response to a state of energy deprivation. And this is just such a great reframe for people who don't understand why they binge or why they have cravings. You know, as we talked about, you're in a state of undernourishment when that is happening. And that can be from not eating enough calories, or as Clara pointed out, someone could be eating enough calories, but not getting enough actual nutrition, vitamins and minerals, micronutrients from the excessive calories that they're eating. So that quote came from Jay Feldman on the Energy Balance podcast, which I love. It's been very helpful for me in getting grounded in this bioenergetic view and the idea that energy production is everything. Energy is everything. It's the foundation for health. It kind of gave the broad overview framework of that in the podcast with Kaya recently. I think it's called The Energy to Heal. I hope that's what it's called. So this episode of the Energy Balance podcast is called GLP-1 Drugs for Weight Loss, What They're Not Telling You. And I've been waiting for a couple years now for someone to put out this exact podcast episode that takes this exact point of view on GLP-1s. So if you're interested in that at all, definitely check that episode out. All right, to get your hands on some of our herbal body oils or herbal elixirs, herbal essences, including our bundles, which combine numerous medicines from those categories for different rites of passage and different stages of a woman's life, you can check out mythicmedicine.shop. We really appreciate you supporting our small family business. Times are tough for small business owners and for numerous people in our little niche here that I've talked to are, seeing a decline in sales as everyone is reckoning with economic changes and world events. So thank you. We really appreciate your ongoing support. Our family completely lives off the income from the Patreon, from this podcast, and from sales made from our small, homemade, handcrafted by us, homegrown by us in our little organic garden on our land that my husband put in, and sometimes ethically wildcrafted herbal medicine. So thank you, and I look forward to next time.